Talk to Dr. Luke Blaxill. He's a historian of the British monarchy and the Constitution. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Julia.
Thank you very much indeed for joining us. Very much appreciate that. I just want to go on the security issue first. Obviously, some concerns after a man was arrested for throwing what appeared to be shotgun pellets over the gates of Buckingham Palace. But we're told there's been a real look at security as a result of that. I would imagine this is exactly the sort of thing they have prepared for not just, days, weeks, but months or even years.
Yes, I mean, security in royal occasions like this is of paramount importance, and the services that are involved in making these preparations will have war-gamed all sorts of different scenarios, many of them much, much worse and much, much more grandiose than the one that we've heard about here. So I wouldn't be too concerned.
No, indeed. I mean, that will certainly be the hope that it does go off without a hitch, because these are very big moments, not just in our constitutional, in our history and the pageantry and the pomp and all of that. They're actually, it's very important for, I suppose, what we project around the world. We're told one of the reasons, for keeping the monarchy is about the tourism attraction that Buckingham Palace and Windsor Castle, but also the fact that we still have a living, breathing, very, very visible, internationally known monarchy, and all of this pomp and circumstance. And we've seen some amazing pictures on the front pages of a few of the papers today, including the Times, with some of the overnight rehearsals with the gold state coaches and the like. This is all part of how, I suppose, Britain presents itself to the world.
Absolutely. These ceremonies are tremendously important. They're tremendous for the projection of Britain's international image. We're almost one of the only remaining monarchies that does coronations at all. And of course,
everyone else is on a bike, aren't they? I think if you're going to have a monarchy, I'm not sure they should be going around on bikes.
Exactly. If you're going to have a monarchy and you're going to try and invest your constitution with this kind of magical power and give the technical and democratic elements of it this degree of sort of ancient mystique, then you should make it grand. You should have many ceremonial objects dating back thousands of years: stone of destiny, sword of state, orb and scepter. In many respects, the fact that it is slightly imperceptible, slightly difficult even to understand, actually adds to its magic. Because if it was rationalized and codified, it would be a bit mundane, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that's part of it, isn't it? What do you make of the apparent rise in republicanism certainly since the death of the Queen? Because there was a view, and I know it's a view that was shared by organisations like the anti-monarchist group Republic, led by Graham Smith, spoken to him on the show recently, where there's view that, people were never going to question the monarchy en masse while the Queen was still on the throne, given the sort of huge love and respect and admiration that she felt from the British public. Most of us grown up with her as almost like the grandmother of the nation, I think, even for my generation. But actually, with the King coming to the throne, who's got a kind of political past, he's stepped on a lot of political toes over the years. He's involved in lots of causes which are now becoming more political causes, like the Green Movement and the like, that actually he's not going to be held with the same respect and love and admiration that the Queen had. Do you think that is going to inevitably grow over the years of his time on the throne, or do you think that he can turn that around?
We must remember that Britain has always had a very strong tradition of republicanism and royal scepticism. There's always been a reasonably large minority in Britain, going right back, indeed, even to the 18th, 19th centuries, who were opposed to having a monarchy and who wanted to have an elected head of state. That proportion has also been disproportionately skewed amongst younger people. So while it's true that we have seen a rise of Republican sentiment since the death of the Queen, I don't think it's anything to get too concerned about. I mean, certainly the Republic pressure group at the moment, led by Graham Smith, as you mentioned, having spent perhaps the best part of 30 years waiting for an old woman to die, now has an opportunity to be able to make its arguments. And it's gaining some traction, but I don't think that much.
No, it is fascinating how much it doesn't. I'm amazed actually on the left and the right how much there is support for monarchy, but so much of that again is the Queen having performed those duties so well, and we don't know what she thought about anything. We might have had to see a few front pages, what she did or didn't say about Brexit to Nick Clegg once, but we don't know for sure anything, and that's an extraordinary thing, especially in the days of 24/7 television and social media as well. Can I ask you about Camilla's role? We have that formal statement from the Queen that she was her dearest wish that Camilla would be known as Queen Consort, not Princess Consort, when she acceded to the throne. But it's been made very clear, the coronation invitations make it clear, it is the King and Queen, not the Queen Consort. I have to say, it seemed to be very clear. If you're a woman and you're married to the King, you're the Queen. That's the end of the matter, and I'm fascinated by how many staunch royalists still have an issue with Camilla. I've been to various events where she's been there. I mean, she seems like rather a good egg. I think she's kind of, you know, she's sort of Prince Philip without some of the rather perhaps not very nice things that he said over the years, the inappropriate things. But there are still many people who, staunch Diana fans in particular, who still do not accept her as their queen.
Yes, there are, absolutely. And there are a number of arguments that they have. I mean, the Queen Consort title, I mean, while we call her Queen Camilla, we have also called all other Queen Consorts Queen, just as a sort of a mark of respect. But even
Elizabeth,
the Queen Consort
Mother,
title, yeah, even the Queen Consort title is not guaranteed. I mean, Prince Philip was not called the Prince Consort until 1957, 4 years after Elizabeth's coronation. You had Prince Albert, the husband of Queen Victoria, was not called Prince Consort for some considerable time afterwards. And there are other examples of that too. Queen Adelaide, William IV's wife in the 1830s, not allowed to call herself Queen, only allowed to call herself Queen Consort. And so those titles aren't guaranteed things. They are things that are usually bestowed upon the Queen by marriage, but aren't necessarily. And I think the argument of the ardent monarchists here is that a highly controversial honour has been given to Queen Camilla that they don't feel that she's really earned and hasn't automatically been guaranteed.
I think she's put up with Charles all these years. I don't think, whatever one's views on him as a monarch, I don't think he's going to be an easy man to live with. I think we can safely say. My views, again, I'm not a monarchist, but I think people who are born into this role and don't have any choice about it, I'd like them to be happy. I think as a general rule, human beings have a right to happiness, and it's whether it's Harry going off with Meghan into the sunset or William and Kate, whoever it is, he was sort of put into a forced marriage that neither he nor Diana really wanted. They both made each other miserable. It was all miserable for everybody. I'm rather pleased that anybody has found happiness. I don't know why people are still so angry with her so many years on.
I agree with you, Julia, about the point about not getting to choose our monarchs. At the end of the day, sometimes we are blessed with fantastic figures like the late Queen Elizabeth, or indeed her father, George VI. Some of them are more difficult. George IV, for example, monarch between 1820 and 1830, notoriously debauched individual, tried to trump up a bunch of adultery clauses against his wife, Queen Caroline, and had a public trial where the people ended up siding very strongly with her. Yeah. But I think in the case of Charles and Camilla, we're being asked to buy into a rehabilitation story here. This isn't a sort of a starry-eyed young couple being kind of coronated together. They're individuals who have had controversy. You know, they've seen the world, they've made mistakes. We understand that. Serious people, but perhaps appropriate for more serious times.
Yeah, indeed. Can I ask you finally, though, serious times in Jamaica? We know some polling has shown from Lord Ashcroft yesterday that I think is it 6 of the 14 nations which have the King as their head of state, including Canada, Australia, New Zealand, others, their public is turning against keeping him as head of state, having a head of state from on the other side of the planet and doesn't live in their country, not of their nationality. Perhaps people can understand that. Jamaica, it's understood, a senior government minister has spoken to the media over the last couple of days and said that actually they're looking at having a referendum as early as next year on whether they keep the King as that head of state. It could be that in the coming 5, 6, 10 years that actually the King's realm is going to get much smaller.
That's quite possible, although the fact that Jamaica may have a referendum on it would be something that Barbados didn't have. Barbados simply became a republic without a referendum. And so it's absolutely true, of course, that whether it's through referenda or whether it is through the decision of key states people, that it's possible that some of the colonies or the former colonies, parts of the Commonwealth, will become independent in the years that follow. And that will depend upon the political regimes and complexities that you see in them. But, even if Charles ends up being the king of a smaller Commonwealth, it will still stretch a huge number of countries and will still include a very large number of people in the world. And it is, of course, the legacy to the old British Empire.
Yeah. And we'll still have the Commonwealth. which still
we'll still have the Commonwealth, and the British Empire story has been one, you could argue, of gracefully retreating, laying down its imperial seals and becoming a Commonwealth.
Yes.
And part of that is that some countries may in time become republic.
Indeed.
But we can still have great working relationships, and even if they do decide to sail away without us.
And don't forget the self-flagellation of the British upper classes, because that's always fun to watch as well. Absolutely fascinating talking to you. I hope you'll come on the show again. Dr. Luke Blaxill, Royal and Constitutional Historian.